Why God tests dark chosen ones with fake energy through loved ones. There are truths so heavy that the soul cannot receive them until it's been broken open by divine fire. This is one of them. If you are watching this, if life has led you here, it's not by accident. You are not like the others. You don't just feel pain, you absorb the pain of others. You don't just seek truth, you burn for it. And you don't just walk the path, you were born for it. But what no one ever tells you at the beginning of your awakening is this: the path of a dark chosen one is not paved with light. It is littered with illusions, especially illusions that wear the faces of those you love. Why would God test you using your own circle? Why would the most difficult spiritual warfare come not from strangers or external enemies, but from the very people you once trusted, loved, and believed in? Why would the ones who once held your hand now shake your spirit? The answer is both terrifying and liberating, because only they have enough access to your heart to trick you, and only those who can trick you can awaken you to your deepest discernment. You see, when you are a dark chosen one, a soul marked not just with light, but with shadow, with depth, with purpose forged in pain, you are not here to play small. You are here to shatter systems, to disrupt illusions, and to carry a frequency that most people will never understand. And because of that, you become a threat not in a personal way, but energetically. Your very presence begins to unravel the false constructs others are still clinging to. And so, without even trying, you awaken reactions in others. You stir them, trigger them, or even magnetize them. But here's where it gets real. Not all who are drawn to you are for you. Some are sent to test you. Not all tests come in the form of suffering or loss. Some come dressed in smiles. Some come looking like love, like loyalty, like friendship. Some come as comfort. These are the most dangerous ones because they don't look like attacks. They look like support. But behind the affection, behind the "I'm here for you," is something else. A frequency that doesn't align with your mission. A vibration that subtly pulls you off your path, not with malice but with misalignment.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
So why does God allow this? Why does the Creator, your Creator, permit these fake energies to appear through your loved ones? Because your evolution depends on your ability to see through them, not with your eyes, but with your soul. You are being trained. You are being refined. And more than anything else, you are being taught how to feel truth beyond appearances. This is not about mistrusting everyone. It's deeper than that. It's about learning to recognize energy before it speaks. It's about sensing the frequency behind the face. Words can lie. Emotions can manipulate. But frequency? That's pure. And your job as a dark chosen one is to tune in so precisely that no illusion, no matter how well-dressed, can fool you. Now here's where it gets personal. Think about some of the people you've loved the most, the ones who had access to your heart, your secrets, your essence. Were there moments where something felt off? Not wrong enough to confront, but misaligned enough to confuse you? That's the test. It's not always loud. Sometimes it comes in whispers, moments where they subtly downplay your vision, suggest that your path is a bit much, laugh at your depth, undermine your growth, not with cruelty, but with casual comments that plant seeds of doubt. That's how fake energy operates quietly, like a virus in the background of your operating system. And here's the divine twist: they may not even be conscious of it. They may not know they're being used as vessels for interference. That's what makes the test so complex. Because your ego wants justice, but your soul knows this is a lesson in neutrality. God is not asking you to hate them. God is asking you to see through them. The battlefield is not outside, it's inside. The war is not between you and them, it's between your old programming and your divine knowing. Will you choose comfort, or will you choose calling? Will you stay attached to the version of them you wish they were, or will you honor the frequency they're actually operating in? Will you keep shrinking to preserve peace, or will you expand, even if it costs you their approval? Because here's what no one tells you: when you truly step into your power, you will lose people. Not because you want to, but because your vibration exposes anything false. And that's the ultimate test. Can you keep rising even when those you love stay behind? Can you still choose truth when it costs you connection? Can you let go not with bitterness, but with clarity? This is what it means to be a dark, chosen one. Not that you're evil, not that you're cursed, but that you were chosen to see what others cannot, to feel what others numb out, to walk into rooms and sense the hidden currents flowing beneath the surface. And sometimes that means seeing the truth about those you love before they're ready to see it themselves. So here's the deepest question I could ever ask you. Are you brave enough to let people go not because they're bad, but because their energy no longer matches your assignment? Because if you are, you're passing the test. Not the test of loyalty to them, the test of loyalty to you. To the divine plan seeded in your soul before you were even born. A plan that doesn't make sense to most. A path that will often feel lonely. But a purpose that is so sacred, so rare, so necessary, that even God will shake your relationships to wake you up to it. This is just the beginning. The illusions are only starting to crack. The sacred trap: how familiar faces become spiritual agents of delay. There is a holy deception that almost no one speaks about, the trap that is not laid by your enemies, but by those closest to you. It's not born from hatred, it's born from attachment. It's not an obvious poison. It tastes like love, feels like safety, sounds like concern, but deep beneath it, in the hidden folds of energetic reality, it is a delay mechanism, a sacred trap. And it's one of the most advanced forms of spiritual testing that God uses on dark chosen ones. Why? Because only those whose destinies are massive enough to shift timelines need to be tested through the people they love. You're not being punished, you're being refined. You see, when you carry a dark frequency meaning depth, not evil, you become a mirror for everyone around you. Your presence reflects not only who they are, but who they are not, and that's uncomfortable. So even the people who love you, even the ones who mean well, will sometimes unconsciously try to slow you down. Not out of malice, but out of fear that your evolution will leave them behind, that your transformation will force them to confront their own stagnation. And without even knowing it, they begin to interfere not with curses or attacks, but with concern, with logic, with just trying to help. They say things like, "Don't overthink it," or "You're too intense," or "Maybe you're just being paranoid." But what if you're not? What if your sensitivity is not a flaw, but your superpower? What if your ability to feel subtle energy shifts is not anxiety, but spiritual radar? What if your gut is not a wound, but a divine compass? The sacred trap occurs when you start ignoring that compass to keep harmony with those around you. Let me ask you something raw. How many times have you shrunk your knowing to keep the peace? How many times have you questioned your own intuition because someone you love told you that you were overreacting? How many times have you second-guessed a decision, not because you were wrong, but because someone close to you didn't understand your vision? That's the trap. That's how delay happens. Not through external chaos, but through internal doubt planted by voices you trust. And here's the most dangerous part: it doesn't feel like warfare. It feels like love. That's why it works. Because the test is not in seeing the enemy. It's in recognizing the interference within the ally. This is the sacred dimension of spiritual warfare no one prepares you for, when the battlefield is your own living room, when the voice of delay comes from your best friend, when the energy of sabotage comes wrapped in concern from your partner, when your own bloodline becomes a karmic loop disguised as family loyalty, and you are forced to choose not between good and evil, but between love and alignment. Let me be clear, this does not mean you must cut everyone off. That's not the point. The lesson is not in isolation, it's in discernment. It's in learning to separate energy from intention. Someone can love you deeply and still carry a frequency that slows your evolution. Someone can wish you well and still be a portal for delay. Your job is not to judge them. Your job is to read the field. The more you grow, the more precise you must become. Your time, your energy, your presence, it's sacred currency. And not everyone can afford your frequency. Not because you're better than them, but because your assignment requires less noise. And make no mistake, relationship chords carry frequency. Every conversation implants something. Every interaction exchanges something. If you are not intentional, you will unknowingly absorb energies that are not yours and begin acting out timelines that were never meant for you. So here's the critical question. Are the people closest to you aligned with your future self, or are they attached to the version of you they feel safest with? Because if they're attached to your past, they will unconsciously sabotage your future, not by attacking you, but by pulling you back into comfort, into familiarity, into roles you've outgrown. And that's the sacred trap, the comfort of connection over the urgency of destiny. God allows this not to break you, but to forge you, to sharpen your discernment until it can cut through emotional entanglement like a sword, to get you to the point where you no longer follow love blindly, but follow frequency precisely, where your loyalty shifts from people to purpose, from emotion to embodiment. And yes, it hurts. It's one of the most painful layers of awakening, but it's also one of the most powerful, because once you pass this test, no one, not even those you love, can derail you again. You become sovereign, untouchable, directed not by guilt or obligation, but by divine alignment. That's the evolution you're in right now. That's the level of spiritual maturity required of the few, the chosen, the ones who were never meant to blend in but to break the pattern entirely. The frequency rift, why your vibration threatens the comfort of others. There comes a moment in every dark chosen one's life when you stop wondering why people change and start understanding why they can't handle your vibration. It's not personal. It never was. But it feels personal, especially when it's your best friend suddenly distant, your partner becoming passive-aggressive, your family labeling you as too much. You start noticing the shift, the subtle withdrawal, the awkward silences, the tension that wasn't there before, and the human in you aches for answers. You ask, what did I do wrong? But the soul in you, it knows the truth. You didn't do anything wrong. You simply evolved. And your new frequency has created a rift. This rift isn't visible to the eye. It's energetic, it's spiritual, it's vibrational. When you begin to operate from elevated awareness, when your energy field expands with clarity, pain transmutation, and divine alignment, you start to emit a frequency that naturally disrupts everything that is false, stagnant, or misaligned around you. It's like your soul becomes a tuning fork, and anyone whose frequency doesn't match yours, they begin to feel uncomfortable, not because you're wrong, but because you're resonating with a truth they haven't faced yet. This rift is sacred. It's not your job to fix it. It's your job to honor it. Because here's the hidden wisdom: your vibration will always reveal what words cannot. It will expose every unspoken tension, every fake smile, every energetic mismatch. And that's why people pull away. That's why they get triggered. They can't name it, but they feel it. Your presence makes their denial impossible to maintain. Your energy triggers the part of them they've kept hidden. And instead of facing it, they often choose the easier path, blaming you. It's a spiritual paradox. The more healed you become, the more you are blamed for hurting others. Not because you hurt them, but because your light illuminates their wounds. And when someone isn't ready to heal, they will distort your light into something threatening. This is why so many dark chosen ones experience rejection, betrayal, and isolation at the peak of their transformation. You're not being punished, you're being cleared. God is not removing people from your life to hurt you. He's removing them because their energy can no longer coexist with your assignment. Their comfort cannot survive your calling. And the deeper your devotion, the more ruthless this clearing becomes. You'll notice it's not just people who fall away, but entire timelines. Whole versions of your life, your plans, your dreams swept away like dust in the wind. And you're left with the ache of becoming, the silence of ascension, the loneliness of alignment. But here's the divine truth. Your vibration is not a weapon. It's a revelation. It reveals the truth of everything it touches. And that is your gift, not to be liked or accepted or understood, but to be true, to carry a frequency so pure, so unshakable, so precise, that anything false must either rise to meet it or be repelled by it. That's not ego. That's spiritual physics. And yet this doesn't make you superior. It makes you responsible. Because now you can no longer play small. You can no longer dim your light to make others comfortable. You can no longer pretend you don't feel what you feel, see what you see, know what you know. You've crossed a threshold. And once you do, there is no going back. You can't unsee the rift. You can't unfeel the dissonance. You can't unknow the truth. So let me ask you something few dare to ask. Are you willing to embrace the discomfort your presence brings to others? Are you willing to be misunderstood, mislabeled, even rejected, not because you're wrong, but because your frequency is simply too honest for their illusions? Because that's what it means to carry spiritual authority. Not to be celebrated, but to be consecrated, set apart, called out. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's heavy. But it's also holy. Because in a world addicted to comfort, your discomfort is a revolution. In a world obsessed with fitting in, your vibration is a rebellion of truth. The frequency rift is the spiritual consequence of choosing yourself, of choosing alignment over approval, of choosing vibration over validation. And it's not a mistake. It's a divine design, because only those who can withstand the rift are ready to lead others through it. So when your loved ones shift, when your circles shrink, when the room feels colder than before, don't shrink. Don't chase. Don't beg for understanding. Just stand, breathe, hold your frequency steady, and let the rift do what it came to do, separate what was never meant to stay. Because what remains after the rift is real, aligned, resonant, and what falls away, it wasn't love. It was attachment disguised as love. It wasn't support. It was comfort disguised as loyalty. Your frequency is your filter. Trust it. God's final layer, why only the most spiritually dangerous are tested through love itself. If you've made it this far, you already know this journey isn't for the faint-hearted. You've walked through fires you didn't light, fought battles no one else could see, and kept going long after most would have turned back. But there's one more layer, one last gate, that God reserves only for those who carry the most spiritually potent energy. And it doesn't come as a storm or a demon or a dark night of the soul. No, the final test comes wrapped in the softest skin, love itself. Why would God use love, the very force we associate with divinity, to test you? Because love is the only thing powerful enough to bind a chosen one to a version of themselves they've outgrown. Love is the one tether strong enough to keep you almost awakened, almost aligned, almost powerful, but never fully free. That's why it's the final layer, because it's the one test you can't fake your way through. It requires full surrender. And here's the hard truth. For spiritually dangerous souls, those who carry the power to shift collective frequencies, to collapse generational curses, to speak truth that breaks spells, partial freedom is spiritual suffocation. You can't afford to be almost clear. You can't afford to be almost aligned. You can't afford to be in relationships, partnerships, or dynamics that almost match your vibration, because almost is where your power leaks. So God sends the final test, and it looks like love. It may be a person who feels like home, a partner who sees parts of you no one else does, a friend who's been with you through everything, a family member who supported you when no one else did. And slowly, without noticing, you start compromising, not in big ways, but in small, almost invisible ones. You soften your language. You suppress your intuition just a little. You delay your leap. You explain your knowing instead of embodying it. And before long, you're no longer walking with God. You're negotiating with comfort. That's when the test is active. And it's not about whether you can love others. It's about whether you can love truth more than the version of love you've been given. Can you love God's vision for your life more than your attachment to who stayed with you in the past? Can you choose your soul's expansion, even if it means breaking your own heart? Can you walk away from the person who once saved you because now, in this frequency, they're starting to slow you? This is not cruelty. This is consecration. God doesn't test you with love to hurt you. He does it to purify you, to see if you're ready to carry a frequency so dangerous to darkness that even love cannot be used as a leash. He wants to know, will you follow your soul even when it costs you everything your heart once begged for? Because here's the secret only the spiritually dangerous realize: real love never asks you to dim your light. Real love doesn't guilt you into compliance. Real love doesn't tether you to an outdated version of yourself. Real love expands with you. It evolves. It ascends. If it doesn't dare, it's not love. It's attachment. And attachment is the oldest trick in the divine playbook of delay. So when God puts this test before you and you won't get a warning. You'll just start to feel it. The misalignment, the hesitation, the heaviness. You'll start to notice that being around them makes you question yourself more than trust yourself. That your dreams feel further away when they're near. That your clarity gets muffled in their presence. That's the moment. The moment where you must choose, not between love and hate, not between good and bad, but between comfort and calling, between temporary connection and eternal alignment, between who you've been and who you're becoming. And if you choose truth, if you choose God, something incredible happens. The grief is real, yes. The shedding hurts, yes. But on the other side of that release is a level of freedom you never thought possible. A level of power that doesn't just shift your life, but recalibrates the lives of everyone connected to you. That's why the test is so intense, because the reward is so massive. You were never here to settle for love that keeps you small. You were here to embody a love so aligned, so divine, so sacred that it requires your full evolution to even reach it. And once you pass this final test, you don't just find love again, you become it. You become the frequency that magnetizes real, resonant, high-caliber souls into your field. You become the proof that choosing truth never costs you anything worth keeping. So let me leave you with this. Are you ready to be so obedient to your soul that even love cannot distract you from your mission? Because if you are, you're dangerous now. And the divine knows it. The test is over. You've passed.